Hello and welcome to another episode of the Sync Spiders Ecom Ops podcast. Today on air with Marin, Gerov and Julian Samarjiev from DULO, and both guys are also Shopify experts and Shopify developers. So really great to have you here, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for having us on.
Great to be on.
Yeah, absolutely. Great to have you here. So guys, tell me a bit about yourself. What are you exactly doing?
Go ahead, Marin.
Okay. Well,
nobody wants to answer. That's great.
Marin's older. That's why he should go first. He's older.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. Respect for the age.
Yeah.
One difference. Actually, Julian and I have a very similar, almost shared CV, especially over the last 4 or 5 years. I think we know each other for more than 15 years now. We studied in the same high school. We were sitting in the same desk. Eventually, once we left Bulgaria, we also ended up after a couple of years living together as well as roommates, like sharing a house for some time. And this is how in the middle of that, the idea for DULO was born as well. That happened in 2017, and we had the need to find a dress shirt that's very easy to wear, that it's not, that doesn't require ironing, that doesn't make you feel super uncomfortable when it's wet, so you cannot move your arms because it's too tight. So we looked for something to solve our own problem, and eventually decided to make the solution ourselves in our own home country of Bulgaria, which has big traditions in clothing manufacturing. And when we did that, we actually also thought about our e-commerce platform, because we wanted to start like online only. And at the time, we have been working as developers already for a few years. That's our main background for the past couple of years, where we work a lot in the development, and we were pretty familiar with Shopify. This is how we started building our own shop on Shopify, and that curiosity eventually drove us to a career of as well being full-time working as well on the side as Shopify developers. So those are basically the two things that we're really busy with at the moment these days: building DULO, our baby, and at the same time helping other e-commerce companies on the Shopify side.
That's great. I've seen you've been on Kickstarter as well, right? With DULO. How was this experience being on Kickstarter?
Julian, you want to
Yeah,
take?
it was interesting. Yeah, so our campaign ended about, I guess, a week or 2 weeks ago. Yeah, it was the project was funded, so we're quite happy with that. Obviously, it gives you kind of a good data point that people are interested in the product. So we're currently manufacturing all those products from the Kickstarter campaign. And then with that, we relaunched the website as well. We did a bit of a rebranding exercise meanwhile. And yeah, so in the next couple of weeks, once the production is kind of in a good stage, we relaunch the website as well with the new branding and yeah, a little bit of a redesign as well.
Perfect. And are you doing the design yourself, or do you have externals that help you with design?
We're gonna do it ourselves because we're not funded externally. So everything that we need to invest in DULO comes from our own savings or income. So we'll do it ourselves, but we'll use a theme, a Shopify theme, to just base it on top of, and then any customizations that we might need, we'll just build on top of that.
Perfect. Besides Shopify, what's your e-commerce stack? Do you have any additional connectors, or do you plan to implement something?
For DULO, nothing in particular, because our process is very simple and very straightforward. Basically, once we launched 2.5-3 years ago, we basically produced around 800 shirts. We shipped them to our headquarters in Amsterdam, which was also our house. That became our warehouse.
Yeah,
So basically, every order that was coming in, we just fulfill it ourselves, print the labels, pack everything, ship it to the local DHL store, and from there it just goes to the people who bought the shirts. This time around, we have double of the inventory, so it's not feasible anymore to have it at home. So we have a warehouse in Bulgaria very close to where the production is happening. We also wanted to limit the transport of the product as well, to kind of limit the carbon emissions as well on that front. So now the shirts are going to leave almost as close to the place of manufacturing as it possibly can. But again, we're just using the Shopify backend for this because we found it for our purposes, for our volumes, it's more than enough. And yeah, personally, I don't have experience with other tools, but I think, Julian, you might have more experience working for some clients.
Yeah, I mean, just to touch on top of that, I was thinking that the other day that we might need to build some sort of automation that communicates when the orders come in, and we need to communicate it to the warehouse back in Bulgaria. So we just see based on, ease of implementation or the costs of that, whether it's going to be something manual just in the beginning, if when the orders until they get just too much to handle manually, we might need to build out something that's automated, or just make it simple, just send them an email when we get an email. But yeah, working with Shopify, I think both of us, both with clients and in, well, not so much in our store, but with clients we've used, the Shopify's got a nice app store. So anything that doesn't make sense to build out in a custom way, we often just try out a few apps to whether we, if they do the job well. And then depending on that, we can either maybe scrap it and build it ourselves if we're not happy with it, or we just keep using it.
That's good. Yeah, great way. Typically, I know quite some agencies that work exactly the same. So it's the app market is really huge at Shopify, and there are a lot of things there that you could use for something. And yeah, sometimes you need to further develop it. That's absolutely the case. But it's great to have a great or a big library of available tools. So your focus at the moment is the own store and to push that, or do you also want to go to several marketplaces like Amazon or eBay?
Currently, the focus is on really developing our own space.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, in the beginning of last year, we played a little bit with the idea of going to Amazon, like putting our products on Amazon, using their services as well. But considering that what we're doing is just the two of us, and we also have to take care of other things, as I mentioned, we are still investing in DULO, our own resources. So like majority of the time we still spend on development or other e-commerce work for clients as well. And really to understand Amazon, to learn the whole platform from scratch, yeah, we just saw that it's going to take too much resources and time, and decided to put that on the shelf for the foreseeable future. So yeah, for now the focus is really to clarify our own vision and to communicate it clearly on our own website.
What do your customers say when you have yourself a web shop yourself? What do they say? You're an agency. Why do you have a web store yourself? Or what do you expect from you as an as developers?
Well, I think we started the business which was using Shopify before we got into web development with Shopify. So that really helped us get into it, both on this like CV wise, so we can show that we've got previous experience, and as well we've got some experience. So when you start the job, because we were kind of freshly starting into Shopify development, you got some background to fall back on, so you're safe that you're doing your job well from the beginning. And then once you get into it, yeah, we've been working with Shopify maybe for about 2 years now, kind of full time, because we both do it during the day with clients, and then in the evenings or in the mornings for DULO. Yeah, so that helped, and kind of being encapsulated in that whole environment helps us a lot, because we don't have to switch between platforms. We work with Shopify during the day, then in the evening, if we need to do something, we're still in Shopify, so we don't have to it's easier to switch.
That's cool, and I think for the customers that you have, it's you're feeling the same pain.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we discussed that with Marin, because I've got a client who's also a kind of a sole co-founder with just a few more employees. So communicating the things that need to be done is easier when we've got understanding from both sides. So I've got understanding from his point of view from business perspective, and then he also had some background technically. So it's easier to translate what needs to be done, which helps the process. Yeah, definitely.
That's absolutely, yeah. And I've understood that for you, automation is not a big thing at the moment, maybe in the future, but how are your clients? What do they automate, or what problems do they face with automation?
In my experience, what I've worked mostly with on the client side is issues usually with returns and exchanges. This is a process that can be very complex. And even if you're a small company, that can be quite complex to handle because there's so many variables. So people are using different tools. I think SendCloud is a very popular one that some of my clients, for example, are using to handle this process completely automatically. Other things that could be very important are also to display very customized messages, especially about delivery windows based on like customers' locations, especially if you're selling in different countries. That can be very complex to solve. But I'm not aware of any solutions other than building something custom made based on location detection and all of that. But yeah, for me, I think the handling of shipping and returns and return labels, exchanges, that's probably the biggest area where I've seen the need for people to use tools and automation.
Do you ship yourself? So what's your stack for shipping?
Well, for us, it's just Shopify and order printer if we want to have a invoice specifically created. But really, it's just using the Shopify backend and directly printing the labels from the vendor. Because as I mentioned, until recently, we were just pretty much just ourselves fulfilling everything. So we'd go on the website of the delivery company and we would compare DHL versus UPS, because for different parts of the world, because we were shipping internationally, like all over the world.
Oh, wow, that's.
We would have very different services and level of services as well. So yeah, we would do a lot of comparison and then kind of go. But once you do it, you pretty much know that for outside of Europe, you would go with DHL because it's the most affordable one. If you want something to really, really go on time and to be very, very reliable, you would go with UPS, for example. Within Europe, you would go with DPD. And yeah, once you have an account, it's very easy to just put in all the information and like print the label, stick it, ship it.
Stick it and ship it. Absolutely. Fast out, go. It's a hard question because with Corona currently, all the plans changed, at least in the last interviews I had past few weeks. How are your plans for 2020, 21? What are your plans for growing, for adding tools or marketplaces?
Yeah, well, the thing that we mentioned previously, I think needs to we need to implement it soon. So and usually to touch upon the previous point, the most complicated, I think, part of the journey is, let's say, post checkout. So it's for example, based on my experience, just validating the payment method, and then the communication between the company and the fulfillment company. So it needs to be synced quite well. So in our case, being that the second collection will be shipped externally, we do need to think of a system that handles that in a smart way, both efficiently and also cost-wise. And then we don't need to complicate it as well, because it's still a small operation, just the two of us. So we need something really simple that works for now, and then just build on top of that if the scale gets bigger. But I think, besides that, I mean, we also I can't think of anything main that kind of stops our operation besides that. But yeah, just if we find something that improves the process, we'll definitely look into it.
Mm-hmm. Good. Today I have two times the same question, but it's always interesting. Who taught you the most about e-commerce? What have you learned?
Personally, I have a couple of names that I follow on Twitter.
Yeah.
Almost all of them are based in the US. that are really at the forefront, I think, of e-commerce and of solutions and tools, and where in general e-commerce is going, not specifically about Shopify. One of the sources that I follow regularly, I'm a subscriber as well, is the newsletter. It's called the 2 p.m. newsletter. It's 2pml.com, I think, is the URL where you could go. They send a weekly newsletter with really interesting insights about e-commerce, new developments that you might want to know. At this moment, for us, it's also very interesting to learn about more and more about marketing and branding as well, because we're building a brand that's very new, and building this trust takes a lot of effort and a lot of time, and if people don't know about it, it's very hard to convince customers to check out. So following a couple of accounts on that front as well, but personally for me, Twitter is the best place to go and search for that type of information. There are more and more people sharing their process openly. Find other entrepreneurs, business owners who have their own businesses that you admire, who are active on Twitter. They often share a lot of their experience through Twitter threads or videos, and you can learn a lot from those, because they're real practitioners. They're out there in the field, and they do quite a lot of interesting things all the time.
Very interesting, absolutely. And you, Julian, the same or any specific?
I think Marin keeps very on top of those things. I'm usually I'm smart and lazy and just let him tell me about it rather than follow it myself. But yeah, just those sources that Marin mentioned, also just through experience as well. Kind of find it easier just to do stuff ourselves, see either fail or succeed, and then based on top of that, just move forward. And of course, working during the day with bigger clients also gives us a perspective on what the business would look like once it gets bigger. But yeah, I'm a big fan of trying something yourself and then seeing whether it works or not, and then move forward with those lessons.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, guys, thank you very much for your time. I think we learned a lot again today from developers, experts in Shopify that have their own web store. So this is really something that you don't see that often, and it's very it's amazing that you do the part that you sell to your clients yourself, and that you feel the pain, and that you see everything the clients also face. So if someone comes to you and has a problem, you mostly know exactly what they're talking about. It's not human to developer and you need to have a translator. It's you feel it. That's nice and great to see. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for having us on.
Good luck with your store and with your development. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.